Welcome to the long-awaited cyanotype tarot making video. In this video, I'm going to share with you my process of making a tarot deck completely from cyanotype printmaking process. Let's go. I had the idea of making a cyanotype tarot deck a long time ago. Let's fast forward a little bit. I've been listening to podcasts in the studio. Lots of people are talking about this book by Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. I don't know where the book is. It's somewhere. I tell myself I need this book, but I'm not going to go out and buy the book. I want the book to come to me naturally. One day I was walking around the neighborhood on the phone, as I do. I love going for talking walks. And in one of those little libraries was Big Magic, and I was so excited to find it. I realized I needed to give this book some real attention. In November of 2021, I went on my first trip post the things. I had some time to read the book. The number one thing that I took away from that book was that if you don't act on an idea that you have, somebody else is going to take that idea. Or not take that idea, but the idea is going to go to someone else, and they're going to be the ones to execute it. Right away, I finished the book and I think, okay, I've got to make this cyanotype tarot deck, let's go. So that's where I find myself sitting at a bar made out of a surfboard on a beach in La Ventana, Baja Sur, Mexico. I'm there with my watercolors sketching out the very foundation of this deck, coming up with the idea that hands are going to be pentacles, we'll have sticks for wands, swords being the mental suit, clouds, raindrops or teardrops being cups, because of course. When I got home from Mexico, I started thinking about how am I going to realize this deck? And I remembered that when we were clearing out my grandma's house, my uncle threw a big stack of photos in my car and said, "Allie, do something creative with these." What am I going to do with a stack of landscape photos that my grandma took on road trips with my grandpa? These photos say so much to me personally, but it also says something so universal about our love of grand spaces, our love of exploration, and our love of the earth and all of what's in it. So I took these photos, I scanned them, and I had them printed as engineering prints. And then I was able to take those prints, cut them into individual print sizes, wipe them down with olive oil to make them translucent so that they could be used in the cyanotype process. My intention was to make my tarot deck from collages built from my grandmother's photos, drawn elements, and then also some photographs that I had taken in my nearby area in the depths of winter, because I really love the starkness of plants as they are dying in the snow. I also took some images of animals, like northern Canadian animals, and I printed those off onto pieces of acetate. This deck was created through the winter time. At that time, it is very, very dark here. The days are short and the nights are very long, and I think that came into the process as well. Once I had gathered all of my materials, I started creating the collages. I built the collages at a size that was double that of the intended tarot card size, so that I had lots of room to play with. I started by doing a lot of sketches of what I wanted the cards to be. This was an opportunity to explore the tarot without as much reliance on the figure. I wanted to rely on natural elements, landscape, etc. to tell that story a bit more. As I was building out the collages, I hung them up on our wall in the living room here, just so I could keep track of how many collages I had produced, which ones I was missing, how they were looking as a general body of work. Finally, I had finished all of the collages and I was able to take them off of the wall. At that point, I was able to go into our basement and start prepping the paper for the cyanotype process. Now, cyanotype will come to you in two different chemicals that need to be mixed together. We have the greenish chemical and we have the reddish chemical. We mix those with water and then we mix them together. Cyanotype is a very slow acting photographic process, so a little bit of light won't affect it too greatly. I was able to go into the basement, block the windows, rip the paper to the size I needed, Then I could take the chemical that I had already pre-mixed and coat it onto the paper, making sure that there was a nice even coat of the cyanotype chemical on the paper. And then I strung up a line in our basement in a darkish room and clothespin the papers so that they could dry. After all the cyanotype paper had been prepped, dried, and was ready to go, I rented a week's worth of time at the printmaking studio, and it was there that I was able to do my exposures. Now, cyanotype can be exposed with the sun, but in the middle of winter, the sun is not reliable enough and the temperatures were way too cold to be working outside at that time. First thing I did was do a few test prints. The test prints went okay and then not okay, but that's okay. Test number 2. Maybe not as dark as I'd like it, but I think it might be okay. Give it a wash and see what it looks like.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need.
The areas of the collage that are the most translucent get exposed, whereas the areas that are not translucent, that are the most opaque, do not get exposed. As the cyanotypes get exposed, they kind of turn a little bit darker. Then after the exposure, they go into a bath and they get rinsed out. It's at that time that the colors start to change and you get to see what exposed and what didn't. It's at this point that I had to do a lot of testing and retesting. After washing out the prints, then they could be dried and they sat on the table for a while. It's at this point that the color starts to change. It goes from a sort of ultramarine blue into a dark Prussian blue. The prints dry pretty ripply, so after the prints are all dried, then I have to stretch them out. After that, I could take the prints back home, cut them to size, and get on with the scanning.
Turn from the afterglow. Will you carry me like I am whole again? Wait, hold on.
The scanning process is a bit tedious, and I was very excited the first time.
Okay, so I haven't wanted to talk about this because it sucks. All of the scanning that I did before was poop. It was poop scanning. I did a poop scanning job. Like, it was okay. This could be so windy. But it was all scanned to the wrong DPI and as the wrong kind of file format. So we are biking to the print shop to use their high quality printer. From there I will have good scans and we can move forward with this tarot project.
I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone.
After that, it was time to Photoshop the images, get them to size, and clean up any funny things that were happening. The last thing, and the thing that I did the most recently, was to do the lettering. Originally, I had intended to do the lettering with a typeface, a font that already existed. As I was testing them out, I wasn't very happy with any of them, so in the end I ended up hand lettering all of the cards using an iPad attached to my Photoshop on my computer, which worked really, really great. This deck has now come to me as its proofs version, and it will be, or is, or has been released on Kickstarter to gather funding for the process. The things that I have to do while the Kickstarter is running is just get the box designed, get the booklet designed, and redo the backs of the cards. I had originally mocked up the card backs to look like this, but I'm finding them a little bit too dark, so I'm going to redo them something a little lighter. So there is still work to be done on this deck, but I am ready to share with you the proofs. Thank you so much for slogging through this video with me. It has been a process. If you like the deck, please think about supporting it on Kickstarter, or if the Kickstarter is done, please order it from the internet. All the links will be below here. If you want to know more about the process, I think I'll probably film a second episode going over the final stages of this process. If you like the video, please share it. Share this. Please just share it with your friends. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.